Come over here. Okay, right like that. That's good. I like that. Oh, that looks nice. That's a good framing. Hey friends, it's me, Micah. This is the Homestead Bandwagon. Talking about tractor maintenance today. There's some minor maintenance things that we should be doing to tractors on a regular basis that if we don't do will cause major problems. And it's not stuff like fluid and filter changes. I think everybody knows to do that. Okay, not everybody, but you should know to do that. So the purpose of this video is to go over those small things that need to be done to your tractor on a regular basis between major maintenance episodes to prevent failures. And this is stuff, again, I've missed a million times on my tractor. I'm not a super user. I haven't even sat in this seat for 2 weeks. So even more so do I need to check these things to make sure something hasn't gone wrong since I last used the tractor. So if you don't want your tractor turning into a smoking pile of rubble, these are some things that you might not be checking that you should be checking on your tractor on a regular basis. Let's do it. All right, so there are a couple tools that you'll want to have on hand to do this maintenance on your tractor. I did recently do a video about a kind of all-in-one toolbox with every tool you need to maintain your own tractor. I'll put a link to that video in the description. It was really popular. It got like 2 views. Actually, I didn't bring that out. Hold on, let me go grab it. There we go. It looks kind of ridiculous dragging this big toolbox of tools out, but anyway, it's got all the stuff I need to work on a tractor. It's kind of convenient to just roll it out to wherever the tractor is and work on it. Why am I making excuses for myself? I think it's cool. Let's start with this stinking video right up here. Need to bring the camera. There we go. All right, so exhibit A, number 1, you really got to grease your loader on a regular basis. I know everybody knows it, but does everybody know it? Every 10 hours of use on this loader, go ahead and use it. If you do have a grease gun, which you should, I really recommend one of these Lock and Lube grease couplers. You're going to hear the Lock and Lube name again in this video because I love their stuff. I'm not sponsored by them, but if Lock and Lube's watching, I'm always open to ideas. Anyway, Lock and Lube grease coupler makes it real easy to get in here and grease up your loader frame. So after we've greased our tractor though, which you should be doing on a regular basis, there's other things I think you should check, including on the other side of this thing. All right, right down here, all these hydraulic fittings. I've noticed a lot of people not checking these. All it really takes is taking a little adjustable wrench and just making sure all of these are snug. Let's see, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Sometimes you'll need 2 wrenches. Anyway, if you just put a little wrench on them and give them a little yank, you'll know really fast. If you put a little wrench on these things, you'll know really fast if they're loose or not. If you got a little play, you've got a little problem. Just look for weeping on these things. Make sure there's no fluid coming out. By default from the factory, these probably won't have thread tape on them, but I'm here to tell you, if you got a little weepage going on a hydraulic fitting, back that thing off, put some thread tape on it and screw it back on. It's not going to spray fluid everywhere as long as your tractor's not running. Just go ahead and do it. You might get some dribbles, but better safe than sorry. Snug those back up. Now while you're doing that, just kind of get along all these hoses and see if you got any holes in your hoses, right? If you've got covers on top of your hoses, you'll be able to tell real quick if they're wet because they'll look wet. That's how you tell that. That's a scientific method. So checking our fittings, checking our hoses periodically, regularly, look for weather checking, stuff like that. Head it off of the pass. And if you do find one that's leaking or cracked, you can just take this whole hose off using your wrenches and drag it into the tractor shop or drag it into like a Napa or something. Places make hoses to order. So you can just hand them the hose and say, hey man, make me a new one. And generally, the man you handed it to, if you asked politely, will do that. So after I get done dinking around with all my grease zerks and my hoses, I like to run down to the front end here and just make sure all the bits and pieces on my quick connect look like they're engaged, nothing's broken, the spring's still here. Just take a bare brief glance at this stuff and see if anything looks busted. Maybe put your wrench on this bolt right here and see if it's loose. And then just overall, just do a little condition check on that loader. Make sure everything seems like it's there. Nothing's busted. You know, these cylinders don't have cracks in them. You're not bleeding out here or something. You know, just take a little look. Okay, now after we've checked all the stuff on the loader, made sure we greased it, checked your hoses, checked all that stuff, there's one thing here that nobody ever seems to check. And it's right down here, kind of hidden behind everything. Right here. So these are your loader frame bolts. These are the things that are attaching your loader to the frame of your tractor. And I never see people checking these things, and I don't know why. Tractors come in all the time with loose loader frame bolts, and they're pretty easy to check if you know that you need to check them. Just get your wrench, put it on each one of these bolts. Let's get you in here close. Get your wrench, put it on each one of these bolts, and just see if they feel loose. See, when these come loose, the whole loader comes loose, and you're having a really, really rough afternoon. I've had a lot of people get really, really, really upset because their frame bolts, like their loader frame bolts, have come loose and destroyed something on their tractor. And they think that they shouldn't have to check them because they're used to having a car where things just stay together. Tractors aren't driving on the roads like your car is. Tractors are driving off-road, bumping around, jumping around. People are jerking on them. These bolts will just slowly back their way out. If you don't want that to happen, you can certainly pull all of these frame bolts out, put some Loctite on them and drive them back in. That might make them hold up a little better, but I'm here to tell you, even ones with Loctite on them can slowly, with all the vibration and harshness a tractor has, slowly back their way out. So let's check on these while you're checking everything else and prevent yourself from having a terrible time. After we do that, we're going to look under the hood. We do want to check the oil. Now, where do you check the oil on your tractor? It's a good question. Nobody knows. There is actually no resource I know that could ever tell you where to check your oil. Or is there? It's beautiful. So yeah, just in case you have the exact same tractor I do, oil dipsticks right here. Pull this thing out, and what does the oil look like? If it's a diesel, which it is, the oil is going to look black. It just always looks like this. If you've noticed, my oil's a little low. So this is why we're checking stuff on a regular basis, because we want to make sure at least it has oil in there. Just because it's black doesn't mean it needs to be changed. You should be changing based on your maintenance schedule, which I'm sure you have memorized by now. But yeah, my oil's a little low, so we need to top that off. When I'm looking under the hood, I'm just looking for a couple things. Is there anything obviously leaking? Is there anything smoking, on fire? And are there any mouse nests in here? That is the number one thing I see people just missing. And tractors come into the shop, they don't know why they don't run. Well, it's because a mouse ate all of your wiring. So just shove your head in here and look for stuff. These radiator screens right here, these are really important to clean. There's a great product called a Radiator Genie for getting in here and cleaning these out. That's wonderful. But like I said, I'm just as much to blame as anybody else. See all this gunk in here? This is all an invitation for a mouse or a rat to start making a nest. They love organic material like this for nesting. And if we just leave it under the hood of our tractor and don't ever check it, they're gonna make a nest. So yeah, just check for that kind of stuff. Come up around here, under the hood. I mean, do we see any mouse nests in there? I'm not looking, you're looking. Do you see anything? No? Okay, good. So after we make sure that we don't have a bunch of muck and junk around the radiator, go ahead and open up your case right here for your air cleaner. Pull it out and just take a gander at this thing. This one has this one has an outer air cleaner and an inner. Just make sure they're both there. Inspect them for, whoops. So this is the outer air filter. We just want to kind of look at it and make sure all the media is there. Is there some junk on it? Okay. At the very least, take it out and tap it out on something. Yeah, kind of just take it and knock it out and get some of that dirt off of it. You should be replacing these semi-regularly. way more regularly than your owner's manual tells you, because when these get plugged up, it really brings down the performance on your tractor. But yeah, it's your money, spend it how you want. But just the more I'm whacking this thing, the more stuff's coming out of it. That tells me that there's stuff inside that's not coming out. So maybe it is time to think about changing this thing. And last but not least, at the very least, check over your radiator fluid. Just make sure there's some in this little overflow. There's some. It says it's low. I'm not really too worried about it. You know, as long as it's between high and low when the engine's cold, we're happy. I might see if the radiator needs to be topped off, but right now that looks fine. Just make sure you got some coolant in there. We're looking good. When was the last time you checked your tires? I never do. At the very least, take your wrench and hit the side of the tire. If it's a dull thud, you probably have a flat tire. What's weird about tractor tires is they never look flat until they're flat, like really flat. So at the very least, take your wrench and whack it and see if you hear like an echoey sound. If it's a dull thud, like this, you get a flat tire. A smart person, which I'm not, would go ahead and put a checker on each, what do you call that thing? Air checker thing? I don't know what you call it. Put one on each tire and make sure you have appropriate air pressure based on whatever the sidewall tells you to do, but I don't know, I don't do that. I just make sure they feel like they got air on them until I find out I have a flat and then have to go buy a new tire. Anyway, you should probably put your little tool on there to check your air pressure and pressurize these things on a regular basis. Let me show you another product I really like for doing that. Yeah, so this air chuck on the end of it, I've got this thing from Lube that'll just lock on to your tire stem. So you can just lock onto that tire stem with one hand to let go and then air this thing up. It is one of the coolest tools I ever bought. I love this thing. Yeah, so look at that. Locks right on, and then I can just one hand my pressure gauge. And right now, hey, look at that. I've actually got enough pressure in this tire for once in my life. That's amazing. But yeah, this Lube locking air chuck, this is just awesome. So you don't have to hold something on the side of this tire while you wait a half hour for it to air up. Really cool. Now, while we're down here checking on our air pressure, here's something else nobody ever seems to do, which is just check these lug nuts. Maybe you don't have your sockets with you. No big deal. You've got your wrench, right? Just make sure these don't feel loose. If they move when you put a wrench on them, you need to tighten them. So you could totally just do this with a wrench like an old style farmer and just make sure that at the very least you got some pressure on them. And for goodness sakes, make sure they're all here. I see a lot of tractors coming in just completely missing lug bolts and lug nuts. So let's check that. And then while you're at it, check around the rim of your tire, hit it with your wrench, see if the wrench goes through the sidewall of your rusted out wheel. With modern wheels, we don't see them rusting out as much as we used to, but especially on the back wheels, we see them rusting out from old calcium chloride. So if you have calcium chloride in your tires, you might have some rusted wheels. Get in here and just whack around, see if you got any soft spots. And last but not least on tires, just give them a good cursory look, see if you see any big tears in the sidewall. Tractor tires are pretty tough. I got a hole in the sidewall of one of these tires. We went ahead and took it into the tire shop and had a tube put inside it. It's been holding up great. There's other stuff you can put in tires when they get leaks, like a product called Liquid Tube. It works really good in my experience. But just take a look at these tires, see if you see any weird wear things, little flaps on the sidewall, which I don't think this one has any. This one's pretty good. And just check your treads and see if anything looks goofy, anything weird sticking out of them. A lot of times if you got a nail sticking in the tread, just stinking leave it. Maybe even like pounding it a little, don't do that. But clip off the head of it or something. If you pull it out, you might actually cause a leak. So at least in my mind, just stinking leave it. Take the tire and wheel off, take it down to your tire shop, have them inspect it and see if they can fix it. But always suggest putting a tube in the tire. A lot of tire shops don't think about that anymore. Tubes are great for tractor tires, especially on the fronts. Just put tubes in them. You don't need to buy new tires. So we're on the back of the tractor. One of the big things I want to check is my 3-point hardware. So I've got sway chains here. Are they connected to the tractor? I've had a lot of tractors come into the shop. One of these is busted. The customer never even knew it. So take a look at these sway chains, grab them, move them, make sure they're connected, see if it looks like any pieces are missing. That's a really big one that I see all the time. Your lift arm right here. Your lift arm right here that lifts your lower 3-point arms. Check that as well. Are the bolts still connected? Put your little wrench on the bolts and just make sure that bolt's not loose. Check your top. Check where it's linked at the top here. Just make sure it's still connected. No pin missing, nothing like that. Good, great, looks grand. After we do that, I want to follow all these things back to where they connect to the tractor. Kind of like your loader frame bolts. There's bolts down here connecting your 3-point hardware to your tractor's frame. Again, people never check these. I see these tractors coming in just completely missing bolts. At the very least, get your hand on here and see if they feel loose at all. If they are, we need to tighten them up. But just make sure they're at least there and connected. I had these come loose on me a while ago. It surprised the living daylights out of me. So I connected these back up, tightened it back down, we're good to go. Problems you can have from these getting loose is they can tear out parts of your rear end. Your 3-point can bust off, cause all sorts of chaos. So yeah, just get back here, check these frame bolts. And another thing we want to check is just make sure your top link is here and intact. You're not missing part of it. We see that coming in all the time where guys are just missing part of their top link. Just make sure it's there. Make sure all the pins are hooked up correctly. Nothing looks broken. If you haven't used it for a while, see if this thing moves. If it hasn't, hit it with some WD-40. Yeah, just a good little thing to check. All right, while we're exploring the back side of the tractor, this is a dipstick that never seems to get checked. So way down in the lower reaches back here on the back of the tractor is the dipstick for our hydraulic fluid. On most tractors I've ever touched, all of the hydraulic fluid has one dipstick to check. So this is fluid for your brakes, for your steering, for your loader, for your backhoe, for your 3-point lift, for your transmission, everything. And the fluid, if it's in good shape, is pretty well clear. So we're not going to see. If we could focus. Oh boy, camera's falling over. We got a disaster going on here. Hold on. Oh, are we there yet? There we go. This fluid's basically clear, so you're going to have to use your finger to make sure you've got fluid on this dipstick. In my mind, if you've got fluid on the dipstick, you're good. If it's dark or milky, it needs to be changed. But other than that, if it's on the dipstick, we're looking good. I'm happy. If you need to top it off, we're looking for a tractor hydraulic fluid or UTF, universal tractor fluid, not just hydraulic fluid. So check that. If it needs more, put some in. Now, some tractors don't have a dipstick. They've got like a sight glass somewhere. How do you know if your tractor has a dipstick or a sight glass? I guess we'll never find out. It'll just be a mystery for the rest of our lives. Okay, so we've checked the front end, we've checked under the engine, we've checked the rear end. That's my favorite place to check. And then the last thing you can really do is crawl underneath your tractor. Should we crawl underneath it? Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, thank goodness I had a real small breakfast today. So what are we looking for underneath the tractor? We're looking to make sure filters under here aren't bashed in. Linkages and whatnot don't look like they're broken. Pins look like they're still here. It's really overwhelming. There's a lot going on under here, but at the very least, stick your head under here and see if you have a stick stabbing into something, and maybe you can pull it out. But we've got stuff like linkages for my hydrostatic pedals and brakes. Hey, just make sure if there's a spring here, which there is, can you see that spring? And it's just hanging and not connected to something, maybe you could reconnect that and prevent some havoc in the future. So yeah, feel free to just put your head under here and pretend you know what you're doing. I pretend I know what I'm doing all the time, and it's worked out pretty good so far. So the big question is going to be, how often should you be doing this maintenance cycle, this maintenance check we're talking about? And the answer is it's kind of up to you. If you're using your tractor, a couple times a week, maybe do it once a week. If you're using your tractor every day for 8 or 10 hours a day because you're trying to do tractor work for a living, do it at the start of every day. If you're barely using your tractor at all, do it once a month. And certainly if your tractor's been sitting for a while unused, do these checks before you go use it, because that's often when we see these things breaking, is that somebody hasn't used their tractor for a couple days or weeks or a couple months, and they go to use it, and whatever was kind of breaking breaks fully. So that's the answer. The answer is it depends.